Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do an oil change on an old Chevy pickup. The same video and all the principles I'm going to be going over really kind of goes over any oil change you're going to be doing on a vehicle. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to make sure is you want to make sure you have your oil filter, a funnel, and a socket or wrench set. So to start out, you're going to want to make sure you have the right oil. So for this old truck, I'm just going to be using 10W30 conventional motor oil. You can use 1030 synthetic oil if you would like. It's a little bit higher quality, less susceptible to breakdown. But for my purposes, I don't really drive this truck, so I'm just going to be going with this. A quick note, depending on whatever vehicle you have, the viscosity rating is this number right here. So on some newer vehicles, they actually have a lower rating. Like on my newer pickup truck, I take 5W20, which is actually a thinner, more liquidy oil than this. It's less thick. So you want to make sure that you get the right oil. On most modern cars, it'll say right on the oil cap. If not, you might have to look it up in the owner's manual or online. Lastly, you're going to want to make sure you have the right oil filter. In this case, I just had to look in a book that they had at an auto parts store. I was able to grab the right size filter for my truck. So there we have it. A good tool to have with you is a couple of funnels. In this case, I just got a couple of cheap paper funnels. These help with pouring the oil in the truck so you don't spill it all over the engine. You're also going to want to have a nice wrench or ratchet set with you when you're working on any kind of vehicle. Now that we're under the truck, it's time to get working. You're going to want to find a nice drain pan for your used oil. You're going to want to locate the engine oil drain bolt. You want to make sure it's the engine oil drain bolt, not your transmission oil. That would be very bad. So you want to find your engine oil drain bolt, get the right size socket or wrench, put it on there, make sure it's lefty-loosey, break it loose. Once you break your bolt loose, you should be able to just take it out by hand, slowly but surely. You want to make sure, because once this bolt comes out, a lot of oil is going to start flying everywhere. So nice and slow. Try to control it. There we go. You may have to move your pan a little bit when the stream starts to adjust, depending on how much oil starts coming out and how quickly. So just going to let that drain into the oil pan. It's also a good idea to keep a couple rags handy, because oil is not good for your skin, can cause cancer and all kinds of other illnesses. So once you get oil on your hand, you want to try to wipe it off relatively quickly. Once the oil slows down and becomes a nice narrow slow drip, it's a good idea to wipe off the drain plug and start to thread it back in bowl. Once you have your drain plug threaded back in, get your ratchet or wrench, start tightening it. Now this is very crucial. You do not want to over tighten a drain plug, because if you strip it out, you're either going to have to try and make new threads in the pan, or you're going to have to get a whole new oil pan. It's a total pain. I've done it before. Don't do it. You're just going to want to snug her down just enough. So just a light pressure until she's just nice and snug, till you think it's not going to come out on its own, but it's still going to take some force to tighten. You know, you don't want to over tighten it. Once you've tightened your drain plug, it's time to move on to the oil filter. Sometimes it can be kind of hard to locate. On these older Chevy small blocks, they're typically in the back, towards the back of the oil pan. Mine's right there. It's nice and orange so you can see it. Now when it comes to removing an oil filter, sometimes they can be very tight. So you might want to get something like a filter wrench. I'm not going to use one because I don't actually have one. So I'm just going to grab onto this thing. You just twist it off like it's a big bolt. If you haven't changed an oil filter or changed your oil before, Be prepared because this is the messiest part of an oil change. You're going to hold on to it, or twist it. Should start to come off, spin. You want to make sure you have a drain pan ready, because once it comes off, it's like a big old cup full of nice oil. Yep, see, it's starting to drip down before it's even unthreaded, so it's just going to get all over my hand. Nice and fun. Oh, okay, so we got it now. It's full of oil. Dump it in the pan. Set it just like that. Now, this is when you're going to want to have a rag close by. Grab that, wipe that nasty oil off your hand. Once you've removed the oil filter, you're going to want to inspect the surface that it had come off of. You're going to want to make sure that where the oil filter had seated on there, you're going to want to make sure that the rubber gasket that is on the end of the oil filter, that rubber gasket right there, you're going to want to make sure that is still on the old oil filter, because if it is still on the engine and you screw in your new oil filter, there will be two seals up against one another and they won't actually create a seal. It'll leak oil everywhere. So you want to make sure that that seal is gone. You're also going to want to get some oil, put on the seal to help create a nice seal, and it also prevents it from seizing up when you want to take it off again. Now that I've lubed up the surface for my oil filter, I can start trying to screw it on. You want to make sure it goes on nice and straight. You don't want to cross thread it. Should just spin right on. You want this to be fairly tight, same sort with the drain plug, but you don't want it to be too tight. You want to be able to take it back off again. A good general rule of thumb when you're tightening an oil filter, once you're spinning it on there, once it stops spinning and you got to start putting some force on it, you want to try to at least get one more full rotation or 3/4 of a rotation. That way you know it's somewhat tight. Now that we've removed the oil filter and the old oil, tightened everything down, we can clean up down here, head up top, and get ready to add the new oil. Once you get out from underneath the vehicle, you can open the hood, try to locate your oil fill plug. In this case, on this engine, it's all the way in the back corner, which is a total pain. But this one, most of the time they unscrew. This one is supposed to just pull off. Yeah, there we go. Just like that. Once you have removed the oil fill plug, you can go ahead, insert your funnel, and get your oil. Get ready to start filling it. Now would be a good time to look in your owner's manual. Make sure you have the right type of oil, and you also have enough oil to fill your engine. With this motor, I'm going to add 5 quarts of oil, but to start out, I'm only going to add 4.5, so then I can make sure I won't overfill the oil. All right. Now that I've added 4.5 quarts and spilled some all alongside the motor, I'm going to now start the vehicle after I put on my oil fill cap, let the engine warm up a little bit, shut it off, check my oil level with the dipstick. Get in here, ready to fire it up. What's up? Now I just got to let the truck warm up a little bit. Make sure all the oil that we added can circulate through the motor, so it will get a proper level on the dipstick. Now, one very crucial thing, you don't want to do what I did. You want to make sure you have the door open, because having a running vehicle in an enclosed space is very dangerous. Exhaust gases that come out of the tailpipe can be very deadly, so you want to make sure you have a well-ventilated work area. Once you have the vehicle off, you're going to find and locate your dipstick. Mine is all the way down here in the most convenient spot. You want to pull that out. Get yourself a rag. Wipe off your dipstick. It's all nice and clean. reinsert your dipstick into the hole it came out of, just like that. Why are you fighting me? Once you've pushed the dipstick all the way down, pull it back out. Read the level on it. Which in my case, you can see the oil is right up to where my finger is. And it's at add 1 quart. So how you read one of these dipsticks, basically, you have full and you have add. There are 2 dots in between there. That space right in between there, that is a quart. If the oil level is right in the middle of those 2 spots, that means you need to add half of a quart to get to the full mark. If your oil is down at this mark, you got to add 1 whole quart, which is 1 bottle, to get to the full mark. If your oil is not on the dipstick, that's not good. Adding the right amount of oil. Once you've added the right amount of oil, you're going to want to reinstall that cap, fire up the vehicle once more, let it cycle, shut it off, check the oil level again, and if it's right, you're good. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks again for watching. I have a lot of content in mind coming up, so it'll help me out a lot if you guys subscribe and like. Thank you very much. Have a good day.